So I want to talk about the ROI app, which is something, when I met you guys, I told you that I wanted to create this, and it's a work in progress. But I'm really trying, everybody here, by the way, will be invited. You're the only people who will be allowed on the app. It'll be in test flight. I want to talk about the AI component so they can all understand. I promise you there's people, I know people here who, Chris and others, who have courses, they train people, they have a lot of media they can use, right? I know a person here who's in compliance for a big healthcare company over there. And I know you guys are doing stuff in AI that's gonna be in this app. And by the way, I want you to know, this is all personal AI for you. I promise you this is gonna be fascinating. All of you who have your own business, you're gonna get an AI component for being here that's pretty remarkable. And we've seen ChatGPT, and you kind of don't know how to use it. You get used to it a little bit. Maybe you want to write a paper, so you tell it to write you a paper or write you a book or whatever. But can you talk about the practicality of the AI you guys have built?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, and what I respect about you so much, is that we've had plenty of conversations of like your big ideas of the future, and always and eventually we get to that point where like, no, we're launching it. I remember we talked about this conference when we first met. I remember we talked about the application. I remember we talked about what we're doing with the metaverse and where it's going. And it always comes because you're one of those forces of nature where you're like, no, when I put my mind to something, we're gonna get it done. And I think what's special about this conference, about ROI and creating that success network, is it's a different idea. You know, the idea is for kind of anyone that's focused on bettering themselves, anyone that's focused on, you know, not just toting how great they are on LinkedIn or just aimlessly scrolling on social media. It's like, no, people that are here, they're serious, they want to learn from some very, very interesting people.
People ask me this question all the time. I want to get started, blah, blah.
What do I do?
Start right now.
Exactly.
Start today. When I shook your hand, we said 90 days, didn't we? We're going to launch in 90 days. You're like, everyone else is like, you're out of your mind, and we were. And I think it ended up being like 120 days. But we just like shook hands and said, we're going, right? And I bet you there's a bunch of people in this audience that wanted to do something, and they have to start, right? And so I want to talk, well, that's part of the app's process, which is that if someone has an idea, they can go on the app, they can ask for help. They're going to have experts that can help them and suggest things. They're going to have classes available. But let's get into the meat of the AI product.
So I think AI in the last, let's call it, 12, 24 months has transformed, I think, life as we know it. I mean, the technology that was introduced, you know, with Siri and Apple years and years ago, to where, you know, Google Home and Alexa and just asking basic questions, what's the weather, to where it is today, where you can go on ChatGPT and you can ask it, hey, write me a 5-page paper on Christopher Columbus and whatever's happened, and it'll write you an amazing paper, well written and everything. And then when you want to bridge that gap between what's available now, from that conversational piece, from that understanding piece, to, well, what actually helps me internally? What actually will help my life be easier for my employees, for my customers, and whatnot? And I think for you, and the lens that we're focusing on first, is, you know, you're trying to create this one-stop shop for teaching success. Across multiple industries. I think we're focusing on 12 pillars right now.
Pillars.
And, you know, what we talked about is being able to kind of go to the app, or just like you would be at a library, and you talk to a librarian. The librarian will guide you to where you want to go, give you context between the information, show you where it'll be, bring you back to the right source. And that's what we're focusing on first. And our approach, you know, at MeetKai and our company, is that knowledge-driven, no hallucination. And what that means is you can train your AI models on PowerPoints, PDFs, Word documents, images, videos, Excel sheets. And it's just based on that information. Where ChatGPT is trained off the entire internet up until whatever the points are. Being able to have your own knowledge. So it's
a real world example for someone here, like we looked at a guy like Bill Walsh or Natalie Brunell. I don't know if she's here yet, but if she had, there's Natalie over there. So let's say Natalie has like 500 hours of video. Natalie's literally gonna be able to go and point, click, drag the video to the AI product. The AI product will go through it, and then on her part of the app, if they say, what does Natalie think about Bitcoin today? Or what has she said about Bitcoin 5 years ago? Or what's the easiest way to buy Bitcoin according to Natalie? Or show me the most relevant videos that people watch about Natalie. She can do it, she points and clicks, And now all of her followers can basically have an independent librarian that effectively saves you time and energy on any topic. I got to tell you, I think it's the most insane tech. I keep thinking things are the most insane they've ever been, right? Like I thought, okay, I literally said this stupid line. You guys are ready for the stupidest line ever said? Why would I need a cell phone when I have a pager?
Some of the biggest customers, we work with BYD, which is one of the largest automakers in the world, and we're working both on the industrial side for the metaverse as well as our AI technology, but the consumer side of like, how do consumers go and purchase vehicles, right? And the idea is you can go into this unique storefront and you can go and see these cars in full 3D. You can race those cars that are tied to real physics models, and you can get a full understanding. The other side of the spectrum is Sony Pictures. We just launched their first metaverse for an upcoming horror film that came out.
I saw it, amazing,
and
yeah.
It's super interesting, right? Because from a marketing perspective and from a Hollywood perspective, streaming changed everything, right? You're no longer making tons and tons of money on the back end with DVD sales. So how do you go from a marketing application that's super interactive, where you can still have purchase points, and then you can get people excited about the content when it's out, and have that content live on forever through this exciting, interactive experience?
I got to tell you, I had a fascinating thought about the technology. My father is in an Alzheimer's home. He is not capable of talking. He can't feed himself. And I thought about all the video we have of my father, right? All the pictures of everything he's ever done, but not really digitized. Some obviously is digitized, the video, but they're not really in a format. But with your AI technology, whether it's a JPEG or whether it's MP3, whether it's any kind of video, I thought, well, how can I explain to everybody the idea that you're a grandmother and you have 11 grandkids and you have video over a generation that you can digitize. You can put into an AI product, and then the AI learns who everybody is. And you can say, show me all the pictures of Johnny on all of his birthdays. It is the most compelling thing I've seen in terms of the whole HAL computer, the Space Odyssey, this whole eventual generative AI. And I think I love the idea of like how it can create training. You can ask it to teach you a certain way. Maybe you'll have it read to you versus I like to be read to and watch a video. But there seems to be a lot of talk about the negative part of AI, and maybe that this is a self-fulfilling, sort of quasi-simulation. I'm curious as your thoughts about, as we keep advancing to more and more crazy stuff, where the phone, when I say something like, hey, I'd really like to go to a good Mexican place, and then I don't even say anything to my phone, and then there's stuff from Mexican places an hour later, it doesn't seem like we're safe.
It's a really, really interesting point. I think we all make that joke where we'll have a conversation about, oh, we should take a trip to Hawaii, and then 3 hours later, all of a sudden, there's Hawaii ads on your Instagram, and
right.
How did that happen? I don't know enough about that, but it is something to be said that it's definitely an interesting time to be alive. I think on the AI side, and I never even thought about it from that perspective, but it is a powerful tool that I think will solve a lot of problems, and I think it'll open up a whole new sector of jobs, of teachings. I think education is an unbelievable sector where, to your point, just like that you talked about Natalie and how people have access to her information, have that personalized tutor, what that can do to the mathematics, the reading, the sciences of kids growing up, where they have so many times or hours in school, but being able to go home and have someone that is just that effective at teaching what they need to do. And being able to communicate in simple terms of like, hey, I'd like to learn more about X, Y, or Z, and it's able to guide you there or turn you to the exact page of the book. That
there's some practical natures to this. If you're a nurse in compliance and you're overseeing a team, and you know that you have a new 300-page manual, you can put it up in AI, and then everyone can be told in AI, hey, here's the sections you need to learn that are different than before, right? I really want you guys to understand this is incredibly powerful, and it's going to be at it's effectively going to be at their fingertips in a couple weeks, right? Yeah,
and that's a great example. We work with a very large mid-Atlantic payroll and healthcare benefits company, and they use it as like, legislation for healthcare or payroll changes often. So they can upload these new documents that are 800,000 pages, and their internal services and their teams and their calling centers can see exactly what it is, and it'll provide them context to what changed, how this affects their policy, or how this affects what's happening. And I think it's a very, very powerful tool where eventually they'll just be able to kind of have conversations and that customer service that everyone gets so upset and always asks for agent, 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 you'll actually be able to talk to a computer that's more knowledgeable than the agent that you want to, that there's no holding times, where it has access to all the information that's available to you.
It does, that concept where you're not going to a chat bot that has 500 pre-programmed answers.
Right.
You're going to a chat bot that's going to answer your specific question because it's generative, it's learned the technology, it's learned what's in a PDF. By the way, you can upload it and click and drag a PDF. You can click and drag any kind of file, basically any kind of file into it that it'll learn from, right?
You brought up a good point too, and I'll go back to people using the ROI app and this become the hub of trainings and learnings and education for the select group of people that are invited into this success network. And being able to bring those videos over and creating that UI that's that simple, where it automatically provides you that AI so that your users, yourself or whoever, gets that better experience. And I think that is super critical, and that's a differentiator from this industry where everyone's saying, hey, come take my class and learn, where it's come take my class and you'll provide someone with a customizable personal assistant, coach, teacher, tutor that will get you further, farther, and faster.